What in the world is a guy from the States doing reviewing a Spectrum product? It's a valid question. So Retro Games and PLAION are just releasing the Spectrum, which is effectively a ZX Spectrum that was most popular in Europe and other parts of the world, not so much here in North America where I grew up. But since this was announced, I've started exploring Spectrum titles. So much like when Atari bought Intellivision, I started exploring Intellivision and found out all of the cool games I had missed out on as a youth. Since the Spectrum was announced, I've now learned there's a whole computer platform that was alien to me and yet has a lot of really great stuff in it. So, the Spectrum, how does it stack up? Is it worth your money? We're going to put it through its paces in this review right after this.
This video brought to you in part by Embraceware. Learn more about the ultimate game guide just ahead.
Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John and I am a GenXGrownUp. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video. Ever since I heard that Retro Games and PLAION were going to be producing the Spectrum, which is a plug-and-play version of ZX Spectrum, it has really opened my eyes and sent me down a rabbit hole exploring this platform that I never knew anything about. And I'm still a neophyte in terms of Spectrum library and what the games are like, so I am learning. So it's important that I set that up as a precedent. When I reviewed the 400 Mini, I was a longtime Atari fan and could speak to it from that angle. So if you are a Spectrum expert, I might not be your reviewer, but if, like me, you didn't know the Spectrum and are curious whether or not this little gadget that's brand new, that opens up a whole world of new games for me, is worth it for you, let's get to the table and find out. I am ready to jump in and explore what all this Spectrum has to offer. Now, I should point out that this is the UK release, so this badge here that shows this Crash magazine may not be on the version you get depending on in which region you purchase. Other than that, should be no differences in the model from what I'm told. Now, from what I've read so far in the manual, I can tell you that if you have experienced other plug-and-plays like this from Retro Games, you should know what to expect here. This is an emulation box that reproduces the experience and the environment you would have using the original hardware. So in this case, the Spectrum, if you've had like the 400 Mini or the C64 Mini or even the A500, you'll know kind of what to expect here. You'll have a carousel of games that you can play, but they've been improving on this and iterating to also capture like the programming environment. And there's even a mode you can boot this in that just acts like an old Spectrum. You don't have to go through the menus. We'll look at all of that. And I took a closer look at the box on my quick look. You can see it has a list of the 48 games included, which we're going to go through. You can see them all listed here if you'd like to pause and see if your favorite is included. But the good news is, if your favorite is not included, load your own games via USB. So what do you say we go ahead and get into this thing and take a look at the hardware? With everything unpacked, here's what you can expect to find inside. You have the Spectrum, actually bigger than I thought it was going to be and more impressive than I was expecting. We'll look at that plenty in a second. HDMI cable, USB-A to USB-C for power. You need to provide your own power brick or something. You have a quick start guide here, which is, I guess, just basically instructions in multiple languages. Yeah, that's trash. That's a manual. And if you ordered this in the UK version, you'll get the Crash magazine, which is a modern mini reproduction of reviews of the games that are in here as I guess they would have appeared. Plus there's some more editorial stuff in here, which is really nice. It's actually, because of the presentation, UK version might be the version to get. But with that, let's turn our attention to the Spectrum. And I'll compare it real quickly. Here is the 400 Mini for size comparison. It dwarfs the 400. It's larger than I thought it was going to be. Now, you might recall, I don't have any particular nostalgia or affinity already for the Spectrum because I didn't have it growing up. I had the Ataris, but already I'm a little bit impressed and jealous of people that grew up with this because it has a charm all its own. There's just something about this ultra simple design that also somehow has a lot of complexity and like all the notation that is on the keyboard with circle and merge and verify. I'm guessing programming functions, right, that you would have used. But for a lot of the kids as growing up, like this was their gaming console. And I get it. I get why this is at once unassuming, but also it belies that, like, oh, we have a lot going on here with all these codes and everything. The rubbery keys is, I mean, it's reproduced here, and now I'm not the person that can say this feels just like, I don't know, but it it feels good. They're taller and have a longer stroke than kind of I expected. And at first glance, I thought it wasn't even a QWERTY keyboard. It's just an odd layout. It's kind of offset over to this direction, isn't it? And yeah, really neat. Underneath on the bottom here, we have 4 little rubbery feet to keep it from slipping around. Looks like just some venting. And then we have a badge and a copyright here. My serial number, by the way, is 127. That seems low since it goes 8 or 9 digits, so yay, I guess. Quick peek around back. There's a home button. 1, 2, 3, 4 USB ports that you can use to plug in either controllers or a memory stick that you can add your own games. And then finally, HDMI out to your television, 5-volt USB-C in. You have a power indicator and the power switch. I'm starting to feel some like secondhand nostalgia. Like, I don't have direct nostalgia for this, but I totally understand having an affinity for old consoles and old gaming systems and old computers like this. And I can only imagine, just like I was tickled by the 400 Mini, getting my hands on an Atari 8-bit, having access to something like this that's easy way in. Look, is this the only way you can emulate and play old Spectrum games? Of course not. But having a physical device like this that I can plug in and start to play right away, or have a reminiscing session, or throw in my own games. I mean, I know the kind of feelings this is going to invoke for people that already love the Spectrum. So I'm coming into it from a slightly different angle, but what do you say now we get this thing plugged in, hooked up to the TV, check out the interface, and try the games.
The Ultimate Game Guide app for NES has been updated to include Super NES. The app is now free to try with a sampling of content and a purchase option to unlock the full library for each system. Manage both your NES and your Super NES collections in a single app. The entire libraries of both systems are covered with reviews, screenshots, cart images, box art, and information such as genre, publisher, release date, estimated price, and more. Also features tips, codes, passwords, Game Genie codes, and magazine print ads. Sync your collection with a free cloud account and view the estimated value. Available now at embraceware.com/GenX.
Okay, we are up and running, and man, there is a lot to see here. I spent the last couple of hours playing around with the Spectrum, getting familiar with a few of the games. You're going to find that I'm very Manic Miner centric, because that's a game I know best. Anyone who knows these games well is going to see me playing them and go, "You dummy, have you never played this game before?" You're right, I've never played that game before, probably. Let's start with the interface. So if you're familiar with the interface from previous Retro Games Limited devices, you're going to be accustomed to what you're seeing here. Oh, by the way, I've hooked up a controller, my 8-bit DOE controller. You'll notice the interface has buttons here. It tells you about keyboard buttons as soon as you move the stick. Oh look, it's now talking about buttons on the controller, so you can navigate your way around with that. Since the Spectrum didn't have a bespoke controller that came with it, there was that, was it Kensington or Kingston, I think, controller that most people have. It's in the menus here. Not what I have though, and this works just great. I haven't run into a controller. I tried 3 or 4, they all work great. I like this one. So yeah, you can navigate through the individual games, of course. If you want to know information about them, like let's look at, how about Pheenix, which looks to be a port of the arcade game Pheenix. If I hit up on the controller, I can see the controller layout, including how it's all mapped. If I hit R, I can look and see the different shortcuts on the keyboard that I need to know. Left, and I can see the shortcuts for the UI, for rewind, and virtual keyboard, and stuff like that. And if I would like to see the save game stuff, I'll show you that in a second. Let's jump in and start a game first. So here is Pheenix. S to start, so I could tap S on the keyboard. I'm going to use my Kimston, that's what it is, Kimston stick, K, which is seen as this keyboard, level 1. And there we are, playing Pheenix. You know, as I play these ZX games, I'm struck how they seem somewhere in between, like old VGA MS-DOS games and the more mature, like Atari 8-bit games that I played in the later 80s. And they run the Spectrum. And I understand the appeal and why they are so popular. It really is a capable platform, much more capable than I, as a US knucklehead, gave it credit. All right, so let's suspend the game. And it goes up here. Now, if you'd like to save your state, remember where you were, down on the stick. Okay. Did you choose where you want to drop it? I'm going to put it in here. Can I move across? Yeah, I can move which one I want to put it in. Drops it in. I can also lock or unlock it if I want to make sure it doesn't get overwritten. And then to continue that one, just hit load. And I'm playing. Now, other global features to take mention of here in the interface. So for any given game, you have a ranking. So I can hit X on my controller and adjust that ranking. It's kind of a favorite. Give it a ranking. You can also see how many save slots are used. See, Pheenix has currently 1 in use. Let's go down here. The next one has none in use, right? You can also go and hit the Y button to sort. So right now it's sorted by author, who wrote it. Then you can sort it by genre. Of course, you can sort it by year. And finally, publisher and your favorite. So if you give them rankings, it's going to group your favorites, the 4 stars, the 3 stars, together in here. Let's go down. Let's try a little Manic Miner, since it's something I actually know what I'm doing. Here's Manic Miner. Now, if you start a new game, it will kill the suspended game. Now, your save games are safe, of course, but we're going to start Manic Miner. So, there's some global configuration that you might be interested in, which we should take a look at, but I want to show you Manic Miner first. See, another border here, that loading border. Oh, that music. That loading border is configurable too. So let me drop out of here. Then I'm going to hit Menu and go down to Display Options. Now, you can have sharp pixels or CRT effect. I kind of like the CRT. It makes things fuzzy and a little more scan-liney. Then there's the border size. So you can increase it. So I understand for some games they use that color as a status or not just loading or whatever, so you can hide it entirely, or you can show however much of it you want. Look, they clearly understood how ZX Spectrum users used their Specky, and so that's all included here. Extended color set, I turned it on. Why not have more? And then you have frames you can turn on. I don't like these fancy frames. I just have this simple border. I just leave that alone. Okay, then back to the game. Right where we left off. Enter to start. And we're playing some Manic Miner. Now, what if I make a mistake and I die? Let's jump up and hit this guy. Oh no! That's what the rewind is for. Where do I want to continue from? Just before I jumped up, I'm not doing anything. There's the spot I want to continue from. 3, 2, 1. And we're right back into the game. Now, in addition to rewind, you also have instant access to an on-screen keyboard. Now, you have the Spectrum keyboard right here. I don't know why you would do that, but it does come in handy to map controls for games that you add, of course. So if you needed to hit enter here, didn't have access here, maybe you're not sitting in front of the keyboard. Maybe that's the reason you're across the room, but you have an on-screen keyboard there if you need it. I've got to highlight just a couple more games. I took a look at Penetrator, which looks pretty cool. So press 1 or 2 for number of players, tree for training, yep. Very kind of scrambly. I mean, unabashedly scramble, right? In a good way. Now, as so many of these are alien to me, I just kind of jumped at what caught my attention. Snake Escape. I like the coloration on the snake. Call me simple, but I want to take a look at that one. A really cute puzzle game. Check this out. I'm going to use the controller, too. And you're this little snake, and I've learned that he can only go up 3 spots. He turns purple, then red, 2, 3 is red. You got to get to the apple. Simple little puzzle game. Cute music. It's better than like the bleeps and bloops I come to expect on other Spectrum games. I'm guessing it has to do with maybe this is a later or more memory type game. I don't know, but look at the coloration on the snake, which I think is pretty, 2, 3 remarkable. And he has his apple. Target Renegade grabbed my eye because it's a beat 'em up, so I gotta try that. Get him! Get him! Oh, he's knocking me down. Get up, little man! Get up, little man! There to kick him, that's good. Kick this guy, that's good. Alright. Yeah, very kind of double dragony in a simple kind of way. Yeah, kicking is a good method of fighting. Exolon caught my eye. Looks like a outer space platformer, so got to give it a quick try. So here's me dying a lot. I clearly don't know how to play this game. Here's the good news. You can download the full PDF from Retro Games' site, their support site, that has all the instructions for all of the games that are in this. Now, if you're bringing your own, you're on your own, right? But if you want to play one of the 48 included games and you don't know how to play, like I clearly don't know how to play this game, I just keep shooting this turret. No problem. Retro Games has you covered. You can go and see the full manual and download that. It's not included in the package, but they provided it. Gotta try the Hobbit. So this is a text adventure. Well, a graphic text adventure game. You look up, there's no controls. There's no controls at all because it was a typing adventure game. Let's hop in. All right, there's the Hobbit. Enter. You're in a comfortable tunnel-like hall. And now you have to wait for it to draw. It's doing a flood fill. All right, so I'm going to go door. You cannot go through the round. Okay, how about open chest? Can we do that? No, that works. Oh, and then Gandalf opens the door. Okay, go door. And there we go, the next place. And now, these can take a great amount of time. It can take a lot of time to play these games, right? That's the good news. Suspend, drop it here, save. You can continue from right there the next time you want to go and explore the Hobbit game. Now, that's a sampling of some of the 48 included games. There's also the Spectrum programming environment. So let me come down to advanced options. Now, you can change boot mode to either the Carousel, this plug-and-play mode, or have it boot directly into just the basic desktop that you could be programming on. Now, I don't want to boot into it because I don't know it that well, but I can switch to it. Set down my controller. Now it's all keyboard stuff. Now, I don't know the Spectrum. I know a little bit of programming, so I learned how to print something. Print. Let's see, I'm going to find the keys. There's a quote. And I'm going to type GenXGrownUp and then do, all right, I'm going to print that to the screen. Watch me go. Enter. Yes, I did it. Now, this is not programming. I'm sure I can make line numbers and make real programs. Plus, you can also save these to, if you have a USB stick installed, if you save, they will go to an internal virtual tape and you can load them as well. So is this exactly a Spectrum? No, I expect like the 400 Mini, people that are very experienced with how to build and program stuff on here might find it different or somewhat challenging. I suspect, you know what? What if, hold on, real-time experiment. So I wonder if I could just plug in like a real USB keyboard. I bet you, knowing retro games, that's going to work. So let me plug it in. Okay, let's see. There we go. Can I do a quote here? Yeah, you got to know where those keys are and which ones modify. There it is. So I could type GXG, do Control P for a quote, and then enter. There, I did it. So yeah, you could plug in your own keyboard. Now you got to learn where the keys are because I've learned the keys on a Speccy, there's no space bar. It's a little button over on the side, but you can plug in a real keyboard. I didn't know that. I just tested it and found out in real time. Now, while you're in this mode, what if you want to change the kind of Spectrum that you have? Well, that's an option too. Let's come in here, machine settings. Look at this. Do I have a 48K, a 128K plus 2, a plus 2A, a universal? Loading speed, because I'll show you in a minute, we add our own games. Tape loading speed is real time if you want it to be. We'll show you. Joystick type, what do you have? Controls for the different games. All that is mappable in here in the environment. Oh, and if you're ready to get out, just go back, switch to carousel mode, and we're right back. Now, what about adding your own games? So I have added some games to my USB stick here. Let's hop in. Now, I have a couple of versions of different games because I want to show you it supports both, what are the extensions? TZX. Oh, it says right here, actually it says TZX. Those are an actual streaming tape that you will have to load. You can also just have TAP files, which are insta-loads, and you'll see what I mean. So let me come down. I asked people what games I should try, and has somebody said Dan Dare. So I'm going to try the TZX. So I select it, and then I launch it. So if you remember playing and loading this game in the day, loading screens sometimes were like a demo scene on their own. Let me speed this up a little bit. Now you can adjust it in the menu how fast this loads, but look at the animations, the picture that gets drawn as you load this game. And it's still loading and will continue to load, and you can keep on going. Or of course you can load up, oh goodness, you can load up the tape version, which I have here. Oh, I should say also for each individual game you add, you can go into the menu and set what's the environment for this game. You know, what's the type of ZX, individually, how big is that border? You can do that. Tape loading speed, you can up and down on a per game basis, extended colors, control methods, all that stuff. And finally, map controls. So joystick fire, I'm gonna map, let's edit it. That's right. And joystick fire is there. All right, that looks right. Close. And let's start this game. And it starts up instantly, bypassed all that load screen. And away we go. Dan and Digby speed over the asteroid. Oh, looks like a comic book. Digby remains on the ship. Oh, here's my little guy. That is cute. And just like with all games, do you want to save this one? No problem. Save it, lock it with your included games. Let's try another. I haven't looked at this yet, but someone suggested Rockstar Ate My Hamster. Okay, let's do the settings. Let's up the load speed because it can be kind of. I only have a TZX for this, so we'll do fast. Yeah, controls look good. All right, let's try it. Speeded up considerably, didn't it? It's one thing to have the game instantly. It's something else to see all this loading environment. Okay, this game has the right attitude. Codemasters, that makes sense. Reluctantly present. All right, Rockstar Ate Your Hamster. That's what this is. And since you'll be loading your own games, something else worth noting is that most games just loaded and that was it. But there were some games that like progressively loaded on tape. So if you need something like that, check this out. They provided for that. Here is a tape control on the side here. So you can forward the tape to any location. You can fast forward and rewind. You say, I'm jumping through it where I want to go. I have a Y. So I can set the cassette to any location I want it to be and then resume from there with whatever the program is expecting. So while this is emulation, Retro Games has gone out of their way, it seems to me, bringing an outsider to the Spectrum world, to try to give you as much of the control as you would have expected to have with a real Spectrum, within reason, within this ecosystem, to give you all the options you need to enjoy this to its fullest. Short of having just a real piece of hardware, of course, which then you have to get hooked up to your TV, right? So look, the Spectrum has 48 curated games that you can modify the control scheme, that you can play, save state, rewind, all that good stuff. Programming environment so that you can noodle around if you are a programmer and you knew how to use that part of the Spectrum. Add your own games to it when you're ready, a variety of modes, control for the interface, layout, what's the screen look like, scan lines. All of that tells me that the Spectrum is a well thought out and welcome addition to, I think, any retro gamer who either already knows the Spectrum or is learning it for the first time, like me. So, is the Spectrum right for you? Well, I can't tell you that, obviously. It's going to come down to your tastes and preferences. What I can do in this video is show you my experience with it so you can use that to decide for yourself. For my part, as a person who was never exposed to the Spectrum before, having this now has really, beyond just emulation, I could emulate, but there's something about having the tactile surface to just plug in HDMI and start fiddling around that makes me more likely to explore these games than if I was just running them in RetroArch on my PC. I can't overstate how nice the physical, the tactile nature is here of the Spectrum. Having a real full keyboard and replicating those little rubber keys that feel really nice. Don't get me started about the layout of the keyboard on this. It's accurate to the Spectrum, but man, is it weird. Anyway, I really enjoyed spending time with the Spectrum. Full disclosure, I only had about a full day to really dive into the Spectrum. So if there are some oddities with the shipping firmware I didn't notice, that's quite possible. Are there other features that I didn't delve into far enough? That's very possible. But in the hours I spent with it, I can tell you that I had a smile on my face and was enjoying playing with this platform that up until 6 months ago was just another computer I'd heard of and never really spent any time with. So based on what I have seen and my experience and the history of retro games and what they have delivered here, I am really happy to give the Spectrum 2024 from Retro Games and PLAION 4 tokens out of 5. Whether you are already a Spectrum fan or just interested in exploring that piece of gaming history that you may or may not have had experience with before, I think the Spectrum is a fantastic starting point for that journey. Look, I'm going to throw links here and here over my shoulders to some other productions I have recently done and hardware reviews. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.